Golly, that's good. I cracked myself up. I still haven't found my first Blanton's. That's different. I really like that. They're like together, like peas and carrots. That's funny. Sometimes accidents are good things. Peychauds or Pechauds or Pechaw. This is not what I expected. Hello. How you doing? It's Thursday and it's Bourbcast day, and let's get underway, shall we? A lot to talk about as we wrap up one series and start a new series all in the same night. It's going to be fun. We are wrapping up the series Bottles That I Expect to Suck. Pours that I don't think are going to be very good. We did the Derringer first, and this was not good. It was better than the Caribou. But did that, did the Fighting Cock, did last week the Bib and Tucker. A little bit about the Bib and Tucker. As that sat, it actually developed a little bit of flavor. It still wasn't a very robust flavor. It was less grassy than I remembered it before. So, you know, it wasn't a terrible pour. It wasn't a great pour. But it wasn't horrific. It wasn't as bad as the Derringer and nowhere near as bad as the Caribou Crossing. But now, not only do we wrap up the series of bottles that I expect to not be good, but then we also get into the benchmark series. And we're going to go all the way down the line. Let's go ahead and get this poured. Hey, Zach is watching. Hey, Zach, how are you, buddy? If you're not a whiskey guy, this might be a good one to start with. A lot of times I'll recommend Evan Williams 80 proof or Jim Beam, but Evan Williams I think has a little bit better flavor than Jim Beam. Beam's good. And then this benchmark, Old Number 8. And what we're going to do is we're going to go down the entire series of benchmarks, and we're going to do it in order of price. So we're going to start off with the benchmark Old Number 8, which is in Ohio, $12.99. I can't see. $12.99. Then from there, we're going to go to the top floor. That sells in Ohio for $14.99. Hey, Lester, how are you? Benchmark Small Batch is the next one, and it's at $17.99. And then after that is Bonded. That's $19.99. Goes up by $2. Then the Benchmark Full Proof up $3 to $22.99. These are still all cheap bottles, honestly. And then the last but not least, the Benchmark Single Barrel, which gets us up to $24.99. So we run the gamut here from $13 to $25, and this is the order that we're going to do them in this series, and this is going to take us until the end of May. That ought to just about wrap out the end of May. So there you go. That's the lineup. That's how we're going to do it. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. I have never had any of these other Benchmark products except for this one that we're having tonight. I had it a while ago. People were talking about it, and I thought, you know what? I'll give it a try, and I was underwhelmed. So when hey Larry, how are you? You've never had Benchmark, Zach. You know, it'll be here if you want to try it. Ken's watching. Hey Ken. So you know, I've had this one before, but it's been a really long time. So I don't remember how bad it is. And since then, I remember getting into the Ezra Brooks 90, and I've always said that's a little thin on the mouthfeel, but it's got a nice flavor. Maybe this will give me the same approach. So this is McAfee, I would assume McAfee, Benchmark Old Number 8 Straight Bourbon, which means it meets all the legal requirements to call itself bourbon. It's sat in newly charred white oak barrels for at least 2 years. Also, no coloring, flavoring, or any other blending materials can be added to straight whiskey. Dawn's watching. Hey, Dawn. Aaron. Hey, I'm glad you're here. This is fun. I'm glad you're all here. Okay, it's 80 proof, aged 3 years. This used to be a $10 bottle. Now it's up to almost $13 by a penny. Less than the price of a cocktail in a bar, though. It comes out of Buffalo Trace, owned by Sazerac. Okay, so their number one mash bill, which you might know as the white dog. So they have 2 mash bills for their main bourbon lineup. They've got a wheat mash bill and a rye mash bill and some special mash bills, but mash number 1 is what this one is. This is the same mash bill. What's the proof? It's 80 proof. Hi, Dawn. 80 proof, Zach. So this is going to be the same mash bill that they make this out of, and this out of, and this out of, and this out of. Now I know that's kind of cut off, so I'll hold them up. E.H. Taylor, as I put them back. Eagle Rare. Put that back. Stag Junior, or what they now just call Stag. Also George T. Stag. And of course Buffalo Trace. Also they do Old Carter. And yeah, that's another one. So mash bill number 1 is a mix of locally grown corn, Kentucky Distillers grade number 1 and 2, with Minnesota rye and North Dakota malted barley. I found that today, thought it was interesting. Secret mash bill thought to be, Buffalo Trace doesn't talk about this. They don't talk about their mash bills. They don't say what's in it. You know that there's a mash number 1 and a mash number 2. But they don't talk about what the recipe is. Well, generally, this is supposed to be close to the mash bill. 75% corn, 17% malted barley, and 8% rye. They use a heavy number 4 char on the Buffalo Trace barrels, but the char might be different on Benchmark and it might be different on some of these other products. By the way, its name is Old number 8, and it was made like that to specifically compete against this guy, Old number 7. So, you know, the labels are very similar, right? The bottles are very similar. But that's why they made this one, and it's considerably cheaper. This is $13.99. This is $24.99, and they're the same proof. So, and I'm not a fan of this. I'm not a fan of Jack Daniel's. It's okay. We're going to get into their barrel proof offerings, I think, in June. I've got a whole. It's another whole series that's coming up. So, be prepared for that. All right. Okay, so what else we got? Benchmark Old Number 8's bourbon was created by Seagram's in the late 1960s. Chris is watching. Bev is watching. Hey, Bev. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for watching. It was originally named Benchmark Bourbon. It was produced by the Four Roses Distillery when Seagram's owned it. The brand was purchased by Sazerac somewhere between 1989 and 1992. It kind of... I can't find an exact date. One says 89, one says 92, so it was somewhere in there. McAfee's was added to the name in honor of the McAfee brothers, who surveyed a site just north of Frankfort, Kentucky, in the late 1700s that later became the site of Buffalo Trace Distillery. The surveyor marks left behind are known as benchmarks. I mean, if you want the longest thread between what you name your bourbon and why, that's about the longest one I've ever found. Oh, these are the guys that surveyed the land. Okay. I think it's funny. All right. So Benchmark is 80 proof, blend of 3-year-old barrels. The closest thing to this one is going to be the small batch. We're going to do that in 2 weeks. Small batch is 90 proof in a blend of 4-year-old barrels. So you see how it gets better and better. The Buffalo Trace I showed you here, this is a blend of 7 to 9-year-old barrels. So the trend is that Buffalo Trace prices increase the older or the higher proof their pour gets. Mike is watching. Hey, Mike. All right. So that's the information. That's the skinny. Let's get down to it. This is the Benchmark 8. Now, okay. I will try this with water. I'm not going to try it with ice. Why? Because I didn't make any gorgeous ice spheres. That's honest truth. I didn't. I mean, I could go to the freezer over there and get some of the mini ones out, stick it in the Glencairn, but then I'd have to get up. I don't want to. All right, so I don't need those anymore either, I don't think. All right, until it's time to wrap up. So the Benchmark. This is one that I was unimpressed with when I first tried it. trying to give it as much air as I can here before we get started. But for $13, 80 proof, I'm not expecting George T. Stagg, although it's the same mash bill. Kevin's watching. Hey, Kevin, I hope you are well, my friend. So you've been out golfing and doing your thing and staying healthy and getting some sunshine. I love it. I saw that your contract negotiations went through. That's great too. Great news all the way around. All right. It's got a great nose. It's got a little bit of a... I'm getting... It's either a black cherry or a black raspberry. You're welcome, Kevin. You're welcome. Definitely some honey, butterscotch. This has got some nice nose. The fruit notes are surprising to me. I did not expect for it to be fruit forward. But the malted barley on this, if it is true, and the malted barley is 17%, that's one of the higher percentages of malted barley I've had in a whiskey. And that would be where the fruit notes would come from what I gather. It's not particularly oaky. I am getting a little of that rye. This is a low rye. It's sub 10%. That's what the people online say. It's sub 10%. So we're guessing this is about 8%. At least the one website that I went to said it was about, they thought it was about 8%. All right. There's a little bit of a brown sugarish note. You might go towards that creme brulee, but it's weaker compared to everything else that I've mentioned. So that's going to give you those vanillas, a little bit of that cinnamon. Real nice nose. Now, let's see how it acts on the palate. Now, I drink mainly higher proof things. The last couple days I've been enjoying the old Granddad 114. I'm used to high proof stuff. So here's my impression of this, the way it feels in my mouth. Hey, Dan's watching. Hi, Dan. How are you, sir? I'm glad you're here. I did like no promotion on this, as this is one of the biggest crowds. So this is really cool that you're here. Thank you. Okay. So, Dan, I don't remember seeing your name before, and if you have been here, I'm sorry that I missed it, or I'm sorry that I didn't stick it in my memory banks, but what I call the bloom is what most people would call that alcohol burn. And the bloom can move, and it's a coffee term, because when you pour hot water in coffee grounds, they bloom, they grow. And it's the same experience for me on the tongue when you first take a sip of whiskey, and it tends to grow and bloom. So that burn is what I call a bloom. So now you're up to speed. The bloom on this one was almost non-existent. However, there was a little in the back of my throat. And after I swallowed it, I got a little bit on the tip of my tongue. And other than that, there wasn't any. So I may not even add, I'll add some water to it. I don't want to, because there's no bloom. There's no bloom at all. Now let's go for the rest of the mouthfeel, then we'll do some flavor notes. Little bloom on the back of my throat when I swallow. It's thin. Not as thin as other ones that I've tried, but it's very thin. 80 proof, a 3-year, can't expect a whole lot. But it does have some silkiness to it, some viscosity. Not as much as I would normally like out of a whiskey, but this really isn't that bad as far as mouthfeel. Yes, a little thin, not bad. Not bad. Not great. but not bad. Now I need to put my glasses back on. Zach's talking. You should get one of those air distillers and mess with it. Air distillers? Are you talking about one of those things that that helps like wine breathe? Is that what you're talking about? And I do that, giving it some air just to be fair to it, because I want to get a sense of what it would taste like in a week or 2 weeks or something like that. And the more air I can give it, the more it's exposed, the more it might give me that a little less of that neck. But nope, you'll have to look into it. Okay, I'll look into it. Air distiller, never heard of that. All right, let's do some flavor notes. This is where you do that whiskey chew, right? You chew it, get it all over your mouth, because you're going to taste in different areas of your mouth, different senses. This is actually a little more oaky on the palate than it is on the nose. I didn't detect any oak on the nose, but I'm getting a decent amount of oak on the palate. The flavors are more earthy in the glass and on the palate than that colorful nose wanted me to think it was going to be. I'm getting, again, that oak is there, some tobacco notes a little bit. Some leather notes. There's some cinnamon there. There's no fruit. So the malted barley fruit note that I got on the nose is not on the palate at all. This is one of those bottles I could probably pretty easily finish pretty quick. Not because it's great, but because it doesn't do anything. It's 80 proof. I mean, it was funny. I was talking to a neighbor last night. She was telling me that she had a couple of glasses of wine, and then had switched and went to a bourbon and what's that stuff called? I forget what it is. The red stuff. The red stuff. You can get it in like a syrup. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Y'all help me. Hit me. I see the bottle. You can get a bottle of the Rose's lime juice that you could do in margaritas. There's this stuff too. It's red. It's in a Rose's bottle. I cannot remember the name of it for the life of me. But she did that, and I would assume she probably did an 80 proof pour along with the red stuff. Hey James, how are you doing, man? I'm glad you're watching. I can't remember the name of the stuff. Hopefully one of you will type it. Somebody did. No, not Fireball. Not Fireball. No, it's not a whiskey. It's an additive. It's like a syrup that you can put in. It's a sweetener. Anyway, she had her 2 glasses of wine. She had her bourbon and... Somebody's saying, what's up? Hey, James. Grenadine. Thank you. Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate it. So it was bourbon and grenadine. I don't know the mixture. But she had gone from these 2 glasses of wine into the bourbon and grenadine. And she said, as she was driving home, she didn't realize how strong... She's not a bourbon drinker. It's 80 proof. Compare that to 12 proof or whatever of wine, or 12% or whatever it might be. And she was feeling it on the way home. And luckily, she got about, I don't know, 3 blocks from the house when it started to really hit her. She's like, oh my gosh. So now she's a little more careful, but that's one of her favorite drinks. She likes that drink. And I just enjoyed the story that she told me. All right. Yes, grenadine. Liqueur. No, not liqueur. No, grenadine isn't. That's just an additive. It's a flavor additive. It's a color additive. It's not a liquor. I mean, I think you got the right idea, but grenadine is just, it's something that you add to a drink basically for color. So, all right. Yes, Dan, grenadine. Yes. Yes. I think that's what it was. All right, so let me see if I can get some more flavor out of this. The cinnamons are there. Maybe a slight caramel note. I am getting a little bit of honey, but it's very, very far in the back. It's more earthy, way more earthy than I expected it to be. Now, that being said, with that little bit of a burn that's on the back of my throat and a decent oaky, earthy type of flavor to it, not nearly as sweet as Buffalo Trace. This one. It's the same mash bill. But this is like a 9-year, and this is a 3-year, and they're not the same proof. So, the Top Floor Benchmark is my favorite. Cherry flavoring, yes. Let's keep, again, let's keep the old Granddad 114 quiet. The next thing you know, it will be allocated. Yeah. That'd be shameful, really. One note on that, the old Granddad 114 did not go down in price, but its cousin, my favorite bottle, the old Overholt 114, went down to under 20 bucks. It's like $19.99 now. I think they're trying to get rid of it because it's a 2020 release. It's been out there since 2020. It was a special release to commemorate old Overholt, and it only came out in Pennsylvania and Ohio, and they haven't gotten rid of it yet. So if you want to sample my favorite bottle, the old Overholt 114, it's under 20 bucks now. So it had gone up over 30 last summer. And I was like, "What?" And now it's down under 20. I'm like, "What?" All right, let's add a little bit of water to this. Sammy's watching. Hey, Sammy. So Top Floor is going to be next week, Kevin. We're going to do Top Floor next week. It's the second cheapest bottle that Benchmark puts out. This one, again, $13.99. The Benchmark Top Floor is $14.99. So if that's your favorite, it's only $1 more. What's up, Sammy? I'm glad you're here. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. I don't expect this to do anything with a little bit of water on it. It might open up the flavors, but it's gonna proof it down even more, and it didn't need that. Now, if it adds a little viscosity, like sometimes a little water does, that'll be exciting for me, truthfully. But I don't expect it to do that. I expect it to make it a worse pour. But let's find out. All right. It did proof it down some, got a little thinner, but that brought out some of that black cherry that I was sensing on the nose. What I sensed was oak or tobacco. That earthy note has, with a little water, morphed itself into a black cherry note. It's sedate, it's small. There's still a little bit more of that oak and tobacco type of feel, that leather type of feel to it, but it did bring out just a slight amount of fruitiness. So that wasn't a terrible experiment at all. Not at all. Hey, Austin's watching. How are you? I'm chasing bourbon on TikTok. All right, so if anybody's on TikTok, I am not. Sorry, Sammy. But if anybody is on TikTok and you want to check out Sammy's stuff, that's Chasing Bourbon. Chasing_bourbon. If you want to check him out, I'll promote anybody else's page. If they got one going on, I'll promote it for you. This will be on, of course, here on Facebook. It'll be Memorex here on Facebook, and we'll put it on YouTube later on tonight. So people can find out more about you if they happen to do the TikTok thing. So there was a video I wanted to watch earlier today about something, and it led me to TikTok. It's like, ugh. I know people love it. There's got to be a limit. There's got to be a limit to the amount of different social medias that you go to. I know that TikTok is the most popular one. I just don't want to. I just don't want to. Ooh, man. Have you thought about the conversation we had about a friend's pour on the porch? I have. As a matter of fact, I think soon I'm going to be testing some new equipment that allows me to live stream with multiple cameras. Now I can do that with what I got now, but not nearly as well. So I'll be able to live stream with multiple cameras, so we can do like a wide shot and then a couple of close-ups. Could be really cool. Today's like a super cold day. I didn't even want to go out, which is why I used AI to do my whiskey photo. So I told AI to give me a park bench, and it did. And then I inserted a bottle of Benchmark on it. So I kind of cheated just because it's chilly out and I didn't want to go out. It's that simple. It's my show. I'll do it my way. But yes, Aaron, I've given it some thought. I still need to get outside and test the Wi-Fi. I've got new Wi-Fi. The router's moved upstairs. It's supposed to be very, very robust, and it should carry us really, really well. I could probably do a Bourbcast all the way on somebody else's property with our Wi-Fi now. It's that good. So at least I think so. We'll find out. Sammy, I've gotten so many unattainable bottles from there, especially different state picks. I've been gifted some really great stuff. Sampler bottles. I've not been sent bottles from anywhere. I mean, the YouTube, we finally got over 270 subscribers on YouTube, so yeah, slowly but surely we're getting there. The Beautiful Bourbon thing, we're almost at 500, I think, somewhere in there. So your shares will definitely help, both on YouTube and on Facebook. The more you share it, the more you tell people about this, the more people can watch, and then maybe somebody will start sending me some stuff. I don't know. Something better than a sample bottle. Although, I am grateful for the sample bottles and the stuff that I got in that kit. I wrote it down somewhere. I'll have to find it. But, I mean, Eagle Rare 17 year? Come on! I haven't tried it yet. I haven't tried any of that stuff. Somebody suggested I do a sample Saturday. So, maybe I will. I've thought about doing a Scotch Saturday. I mean, I could find a reason to drink every day and do this. And the more content I put up, the more popular it gets. So maybe there's something to that. Of course, I don't need a liver transplant by about this time next year. I'll check you out on YouTube. It's the same show, Sammy. Thank you for doing that, and if you can share it, that's great. It's the same show. It's at Beautiful Bourbon. What I do is I take this show, and then I upload it to YouTube, and so far, so good. So far, so good. It's not nearly as interactive. Hey, Coachella Valley Mike is checking in. How are you, sir? Hope it's not as chilly in California as it is here today. It's just not very friendly here today, like 43, 44 degrees was our high. Which, for April, is pretty good. I shouldn't complain. And it's sunny. It's really nice out. Just cold. And I'm really looking forward to getting back out and pressure washing my deck. I started it, now it's kind of lined on the center of it. All right, getting back to this. Sitting here and swishing it, adding a little water to it. It actually is a little bit better pour. I'm glad I gave it a little bit of time. The viscosity did go up, and I thought it thinned it out. What it thinned out is that bloom, which was almost non-existent to begin with. I'm not feeling any heat on the tip of my tongue or the back of my throat anymore. Now, if I was not a high-proof drinker, I'd probably feel it. But this is 80 proof, and I just proofed it down. Now, the viscosity did grow, and those fruit notes did come up. That black cherry, or maybe cherry, somewhere in between, did come out a little bit more. This is not a bad pour. For 13 bucks or 14 bucks, what could you ask for? And that's what a lot of the research showed, is that for that kind of money, you can't go wrong. A lot of people were talking about using this as a mixer. If you are a low-proof drinker and you don't like the heat of high-proof drinks, then I would totally 100% agree with you. If you like Jack and Coke, you're not a hardcore bourbon drinker anyway. right? And you probably don't like the burn of bourbon, but Jack and Coke, you're talking about an 80 proof pour, and most people are going to go at least 50-50 with the Coke, maybe even more. And as a bourbon drinker like me, I'm kind of like, why don't you just drink Coke? Why do you want the bourbon? There's nothing there. You're not going to get much of a proof out of that drink as you would like a beer. I mean, there's not going to be a whole lot left. But that's not everybody. And I'm a firm believer of drink it how you like it. So if you like Jack and Coke, you might try Old Number 8 and Coke. It's half the price, and it's got some decent flavors to it. And if you like to mix things, old-fashioned, or you're going to use 2 ounces of it in an old-fashioned, or in a Sazerac, or in a Manhattan. Although I would rather see you use a rye in a Manhattan personally, but that's just me. It could work. If you wanted that grenadine drink that my neighbor liked, then okay, go for it. A lot of people are talking about mixing with this. I think it would fall apart. I think I'd lose the bourbon in the mix, but it's worth a shot, right? Especially if you're a low-proof drinker anyway. If you're a wine drinker and you want to get into bourbons, or you're not a bourbon drinker at all and you want to get into bourbons, this is a great first start. It's got a decent flavor to it. It's not as sweet as Buffalo Trace, but it's got a nice flavor to it, especially with a little water on it. All right, let's see what we're missing here. 85 and dusty in California, and it's Stagecoach weekend. Your go-to is Long Island, Zach. Hey, Jackie's watching. Hi, Jackie. Your go-to, Zach, is Long Island. There is no whiskey in a Long Island iced tea. Just to put that out there. Rum, gin, tequila, vodka, triple sec, and a splash of soda. Coke, Pepsi, RC, whatever you want, right? That's your Long Island iced tea. A little lemon. Some people use Lemex. Gross. No. That's headache central right there. You start using that sugary stuff, that's hangover time right there. That's gross. So a little bit of lemon juice, fine. All right. So where are we at? All right, we're at 7:33. It's time to wrap this up. Benchmark, the beginning of a brand new series. Again, next week we're going to go to that one that Kevin says is his favorite. That's the Benchmark Top Floor. I haven't tried any other Benchmark in the series. I've been waiting until I had them all, and I knew I would do a series, so I'm looking forward to getting into this. And at some point, when we get closer to the 90 proof mark, and this Top Floor is 86 proof, the small batch is 90, so maybe we'll do it at 90. I will open up the bottle of Buffalo Trace and we'll do a taste comparison and a mouthfeel comparison. We'll do all that here in the coming weeks. So again, Instagram, occasionally we do that because it's boring, but occasionally I'll do it. That's at Beautiful Bourbon. Of course, you're here on Facebook and YouTube at Beautiful Bourbon, and that's all we do right now. But if you want to spread the word, that'd be great. I'd appreciate it. We will see you next week with Top Floor, and in the meantime, drink safely, but I've got a new monitor now. It's a lot bigger because I can't see it. And now I don't know what I'm doing. So I gotta find it. There it is. All right, hey, so have a great week. Have a great weekend. It's supposed to get really hot this weekend, and I'm looking forward to that. Might be a good reason to try one of those mixed drinks with this Benchmark, this cheap pour. Put a little ice on an old-fashioned, or have a Long Island iced tea if you're Zach. Be a good weekend for it. Take care. We'll see you.